thought I told him to spray it with water to retain moisture before applying the film. You can't treat a glaze lily like a cactus. If Sanjay does this again, the loss will have to come out of his food expenses.
I'll go talk to him. At this...
Hey, Tainari!
Oh, it's you two. It's been a while.
We didn't have anything to do, and this place looked pretty lively, so we decided to stop by.
Well, Port Ormos is currently organizing a flower exhibition featuring flowers and plants from all over Teyvat. The exhibition includes flowers from every corner of the world, each with their own unique properties and needs. With that in mind, the curator commissioned a flower pot from Kasharawar capable of retaining heat and moisture. Even so, an expert is still required to develop tailored transportation and care plans for each type of flower.
Oh, and that expert is you, right?
Not this time, no. I'm just here to help out.
Mr. Tainari! Sanjay! He confused the poisonous bulbs with garlic shoots, and he ate...
Never mind. Apologies, Traveler, Paimon. Looks like I've got something to take care of.
Tainari's busy no matter where he is, huh? Yeah, seems like it. Some people just need some... Well, looks like Tainari might be busy for... Wow, look at these flowers! They smell so...
Huh?
Paimon's... fine. She's just got a little...
Rainbow roses, glaze lilies.
It's getting worse.
A moment of your time, you two? If it's not too much trouble, perhaps you could try this incense.
Incense? Oh, the scent is so nice! Whoa, that was fast! Paimon doesn't have to sneeze anymore!
Think nothing of it. From your attire, I am seen as we're both travelers from abroad. It's only right that we help each other out should the occasion arise.
Oh, so you're here for the flower exhibition too?
I suppose that's accurate. Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Emily, a perfumer from Fontaine.
Paimon is Paimon! Thank you so much for your help just now.
The traveler, right? I've heard a lot about you from the Steambird. It's nice to finally put a face to the name.
What happened back there? Why did Paimon start sneezing all...
Have you ever heard of hay fever? To put it simply, when inhaled, certain pollens can trigger abnormal physical reactions.
But Paimon has seen these kinds of flowers before and nothing weird happened then.
Well, we're all different. The factors that can trigger a reaction to certain stimuli vary by person. In isolation, the effects of certain pollens may seem minimal, but inhaling various types at once can trigger a more overt reaction. But there's no need to worry. Pollen...
Oh, well, that's good.
Traveler, Paimon, there you are. Is everything all right? I left in such a hurry, I forgot to warn you about all the pollen in the air. Emily? What a coincidence.
It was nothing, really. We happened to run into each other shortly after. I'm more curious as to why you thought the Traveler and Paimon were in danger. Allergies are highly unpredictable.
Remember the first time we met? You fainted after inhaling Spirit Borneal.
The Spirit Borneal didn't affect Paimon at all, and now she's the one suffering. It makes no sense.
It's not really something you can make sense out of, Paimon. There are all kinds of allergies out there, caused by a variety of different factors.
Exactly. I even encountered a case in Fontaine where someone had an allergic reaction to soba noodles their family brought back from Inazuma.
Whoa. Good thing Paimon isn't allergic to anything delicious.
In a manner of speaking,
In addition to medicine, Emily is also very knowledgeable about botany.
and that's where my expertise ends, I'm afraid. When it comes to breadth of knowledge, Tainari certainly comes out on top.
A flower expert? Oh, Paimon's got it! You must be the expert Tainari mentioned, the one in charge of the exhibition!
Wrong again, I'm afraid.
Well, I did come for the exhibition, but only to inquire about the Auguste variety.
Oh, Paimon was sure she got it right this time.
It's a kind of flower that was once popular in Fontaine. The perfume made from it also bears the same name, Auguste.
Auguste, huh? That's
In an ancient language, the word is said to mean sacred or noble. Ah, that reminds me. Are you familiar with a historical event in Fontaine known as Perfume Mania? Perfume Mania was an event that occurred in... It all started when several merchants released their own lines of high-end, expensive perfumes. No one anticipated the absolute frenzy this would create on the market. The demand was twofold. What some saw as a status symbol, most saw as a money-making opportunity. You could take advantage of the soaring price by hoarding them and reselling at even higher margins. The value of these products became so inflated, regular bottles of perfume were even going for hundreds of thousands of mora. But at the end of the day, perfume is just perfume. The market value greatly exceeded the intrinsic worth of the product. Luckily, the Palais Mermonia recognized the danger and intervened before the craze could truly spread. In the end, only a few wealthy families were affected when the bubble popped.
What does all this have to do with that Auguste you mentioned earlier?
Well, during the craze, the most popular perfume was none other than Auguste. The demand far exceeded the supply.
10 million? Then what about now?
After the mania ended, most perfumes returned to a normal price. Its namesake, the flower used to create it, went extinct. As a result, no new bottles of Auguste have been made, and the value of the perfume remains exceedingly high. Indeed, the Auguste flower was not a natural variety. When the bubble popped, all the flower beds used for its cultivation were...
But didn't you say you came to the exhibit?
Ah, yes. I came to investigate a certain rumor that the Auguste flower has...
Traveler, we should help Emily look for it.
I have to agree. Emily wrote me to ask if I could look into the rumor, but the forest rangers haven't received any reports of new...
Even if I can locate the flower, I'm afraid you'll be disappointed, Paimon. Divine, noble, one of a kind. All beautiful sentiments to be sure. But when it comes to perfume, I want people to forget the price and the prestige.
Wow, so
Of course, there's also a more practical reason. In recent years, every so often someone will claim to have recreated the unique scent of Auguste. And
okay, that's...
ever since that rumor started, 3 new perfumes claiming to be made from... If I can dispel the fanaticism surrounding Auguste, even just by proving the rumor, then I'll be free from all the stories and added meaning and just...
That makes sense.
Oh, I would of course be grateful for your help, but...
Well, you said it yourself. We're both travelers from abroad, so...
I suppose you're right.
Based on the information I have so far, it's Mr. Edgar also thinks it's too early to say. But you could always go talk to him.
I was just about to pay him a visit.
Edgar?
The person you've been trying to guess this whole time. The flower expert in charge of the exhibition. Back when he was still working in Fontaine,
I should also mention, he was my teacher, the one who taught me the basics of perfume.
So this guy was a famous perfumer in Fontaine, but then he came to Samaro to teach people from Fontaine? It sounds confusing.
It's a long story. If you're interested, we can talk more about it when we see him. He should be staying near the hotel. Apparently, the exhibitor paid a large sum to rent out the hotel and surrounding buildings.
Yeah, what if guests come early? They won't have anywhere to stay. Also, renting out this big of a hotel, how are they gonna make that mora back?
It's been so long. I almost didn't recognize you, Edgar. Well, you and your brother haven't changed a bit.
Oh, yeah, all this catching up is nice and all, but let's...
Hold on.
It's nice to see you again, Master.
Emily? Is that you? Oh, it's been years. Look at you. You're all grown up. I've heard you've become quite the famous perfumer in Font...
Oh, well...
Ah, hardly. I taught you the basics. Hearing you call me Master, well, I've taught many students here in Sumeru over the years, but I've yet to see one turn out quite as accomplished as you. And who are these two? I don't...
Ah, they're my new friends, the Traveler and Paimon.
Emily's friends.
And these two gentlemen are...
Of course. I'm Ood, and this here is my younger brother, Blaze. Edgar and the two of us are old friends.
Yes.
Merchant Brothers?
You must be here to look for the August flower.
Well, what respectable perfume merchant hasn't heard of a goose?
I'm guessing you're here for the same reason, Emily. I commissioned a few eremites to do some scouting for me. That being said, there are people in Port Ormos who claim to have smelled a unique fragrance on... Some of them were merchants who lived in Fontaine 20 years ago. A one-of-a-kind, divine, and noble scent.
Maybe someone around here just happened.
No, I don't think so. I doubt that's the case. Even if someone had a bottle that was never opened, the fragrance of the perfume would have changed over time. Auguste is even more prone to that kind of shift. Only a few bottles still exist in Fontaine, and they're... Although, could there be a flower out there with a similar fragrance?
Impossible. If a goose were that easy to replicate, it would never have sold for such a high price, although...
Technically speaking...
Well, let's table that question for now. Edgar, did any of those people mention where the...
No. By the time they realized they had smelled something, the scent was already gone. Compared to things we see and hear.
It almost sounds like someone wearing their goose...
Wait, are you saying...
Just thinking out loud.
We don't have much to go off of right now, but we can't rule out that you all traveled so far to be here.
Ooh, you've got the keys to the rooms?
Ah, my apologies. All the rooms in the hotel are accounted for. I managed to tidy up one of the rooms for these two at the last minute. But by the time...
Oh, and we just showed up out of the blue.
I should have been more considerate. Here I am with an entire hotel...
Don't worry, Master. I can sleep on the boat tonight. Or I could even camp in the wild. It would give me the opportunity to collect some plant specimens while I'm here. Even better. Although, would it be possible for me to leave some of my luggage here? It would be rather cumbersome to take it camping.
Well...
Of course, no trouble at all.
All right, then. Ood, why don't you take Emily? I'll prepare some refreshments and join...
Whoa, the smell of flowers is so strong. Didn't Paimon took a peek through the window earlier and his house was packed with flowers? Looks like...
No, that's a florist thing. We work closely with the essential oils of various plants. But to maintain a sharp sense of smell,
Oh, guess there's just too much to store for the exhibition then.
Oh, this room seems to be a connected suite. Blaze, while you're out, why don't you...
Yes.
All right, then. Where can we find your luggage?
it's still at the port. In addition to some daily necessities, there's also a case of amber wine that I brought back from Fontaine. Could I trouble you to bring that back as well?
How generous. I should thank you on my brother's behalf. You've stumbled upon his weakness.
Is that so? Mr. Ood, Mr. Blaze,
Hey! What are you doing?
that's Master's voice.
Edgar!
Master!
Hey, Edgar!
Kyria.
Hey, Edgar? Edgar!
No, don't shake him. He's injured. Just leave him to me. You two can... Oh, thank you.
I checked.
Oh, but that's impossible. Oh, the culprit, I mean. It's not like the culprit could...
That strange smell around here. Is it coming from this bottle? Oh, really? You think? Do you think whoever did this was... Well, we looked all over, but the only clue we found was that bottle.
The most important thing we can do now is focus our efforts on treating Master.
So, how's he doing?
When I administered emergency treatment, I discovered a residue in his nose and mouth. He's still unconscious, and inducing vomiting could obstruct his airways. Ah, yes. The scent is the same, but the chemical composition... But first, I do believe there are two Mr. Sylvain, Mr. Lucian.
Wait, you...
Hey, were you talking to us, mademoiselle?
Before arriving in Sumeru, I asked a friend from the Special Patrol to look into the creators of Auguste. There were 4 people in total. The perfumer, Edgar, the one thrust into the limelight, a researcher from Sumeru responsible for cultivating the Auguste flower. The 2 brothers capitalized on the mythos surrounding Auguste. Their actions lured in new... In the end, they were sent to the Fortress of Meripede for falsifying their accounts and destabilizing the market. If you do the math, they should be out of prison by now.
And what does that have to do with us? There are countless merchant families in Font.
Every time your brother called you Blaze, it took you several seconds to respond. But when I called you Lucian just now, the name...
Ah, Miss Emily, out of respect for your position as a famous you have a bright future ahead of you. You wouldn't want to develop a reputation as...
You claim to be regular perfume merchants, and yet...
What?
Amber wine is a perfume I created several years ago. It wasn't particularly renowned unless, until recently, they were living somewhere completely cut...
Emily, you little...
Don't misunderstand, Mr. Sylvain. I don't bring this up to criticize you, but Master's life is in danger. We need to learn whatever we... If Master's attack had something to do with Auguste, so I'd like to trouble you for some information. If...
Fine.
Sylvain!
Lucian, if this will help us find Kyria, then it will be all worth it. Besides, we've already told... You were right, Miss Emily. There were 4 of us at the beginning. Myself, sometime down the road, the Marechaussee Phantom came knocking. Saddled us with a
Sounds like he's still upset about that. Wait, then how did Edgar end up in Sumeru?
Master was convicted as an accomplice, so he only had to serve a few years. He decided to move to Sumeru so that he could... Still, Master was depressed for a long time after that. That's how I met him. My parents had to relocate to Sumeru for work when I was a child, so... But we can talk about that some other time. I want to hear more about this researcher,
Like us, Vijava was also... But before the Phantom showed up at her door, she set all the flower beds on...
But destroying all that evidence...
It didn't matter at that point, because she died...
What?
Sounds like you did an investigation of your own. Why even ask us if you knew all of this already?
The name wasn't mentioned in any of the files I reviewed either.
Kyria was he was just a clueless kid back then. Somewhere in his teens, I think. Vijava kept him close most of the time. After our operation was compromised, he disappeared. There were no signs of...
So, you think Kyria took something with him back then? Something that allowed him to reproduce the...
Vijava doted on the kid like you wouldn't believe. If she left something behind before she died, believe me.
And judging by the liquid in that bottle, the Auguste flower wasn't the only thing he reproduced. He managed to replicate...
So the liquid Edgar was forced to ingest really was Auguste.
Poison? No, no. Of course not. No perfume is meant to be ingested. Even small amounts can be... If Auguste could be considered a poison, we wouldn't have even sold half a bottle back then. Edgar... He probably thought we had something to do with his sister. We're not looking for Kyria because we have it out for him. We just wanted to see... We only went to prison for a bit of fraud and market manipulation. As long as we keep things honest this time around.
So that's why you never mentioned Kyria?
Yes, exactly. We were just looking out for the kid.
Anyway, that's all we know. If you're looking for information on what's in Auguste, oh...
Well, at least we're able to say for certain that the substance Edgar ingested was in fact Auguste. That gives us a direction for...
Well, glad to hear it. Lucian, let's head back to the room and rest a bit.
Yes, of course.
You think so too? That does seem to be the case. But based on Sylvain's tone of voice just now... I suspect further questioning will only result in more made-up answers.
The way you exposed them like that, just based on a hunch, that was genius! Oh, right. Earlier you said you were only sort of a doctor, and that your patients were unusual.
Oh yes, that's because most of the patients I encounter...
So you're
Close. I'm actually a forensic cleaner. Once the forensic team and the Marechaussee Phantom are done collecting evidence... In fact, with just a small alteration to the formula, the same tincture used as the base of perfume, basically there are two sides to forensics. Those who collect evidence to expose the truth, and those who... I've learned a lot in my line of work, and I've witnessed a lot of death. But this time, we may still save the patient. Actually, Traveler, could I trouble you to report back to Tainari and the officers at Port Ormos? I'll stay here and continue to look after Master, now that we have a sample of Auguste.
This scenery is wonderful. Surely enough to convince anyone to become a wanderer.
Whoa, why the rush? Did something happen?
What? Edgar was attacked? He's the most famous perfumer in the region. Someone...
Sheriff, have you received any reports of a
No, but we've got eyes all over the area. I'll start gathering my forces.
What about you, Tainari? do you...
I'm sure the sheriff can handle things over at the scene, and...
but...
Then she was far too modest. She may not be a doctor by trade, not to mention the fact that Mr. Edgar's condition is related. As for me, I'll head to the academia and see what I can learn about Vijava and Kirya.
Oh, that's right! Vijava was supposed to be a scholar from Sumeru. Do you recognize the name?
From Emily's letter, certainly, but that was the first time I'd heard of it. I didn't have time to look into it earlier, but now it seems like Vijava's past could be critical to getting to the bottom of what happened to Mr. Edgar. I have friends in Sumeru City that can help me investigate. With any luck, I'll leave you and Emily to watch over things here in Port Ormos.